I'm Big Sexy Brian Bales from Super Geeky Playdate, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual host. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to the Starling Tribune, a podcast dedicated to the Arrow TV show.
I am the Green Arrow.
This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, situations, and stories are the properties of Time Warner. I am the Oracle, and this is your Tribune.
Welcome back to Earth 2's favorite newspaper, the Starling Tribune. I am the chief editor tonight. My name is SP, and your other award-winning reporters for the special episode number 211 of the Starling Tribune are Chris.
Pull my finger.
Oh no, I know you know how to light other things on fire now, man. And Michelle.
This is the second worst Attack of the Clones I've seen.
Ray had the best line of the episode. Hey everyone, this podcast is recorded Thursday, September 27th, 2018, live via www.geeks.live.
That's right, SP, and tonight we'll be discussing Legends of Tomorrow, as well as news, interviews, articles, and announcements that have dropped in the last week that could, and very well will, impact future episodes of Legends of Tomorrow, as well as the greater DC TV universe. That means The Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, Vixen, Constantine, Black Lightning, Batwoman, and I'm probably missing one, but we're just going to pretend like I got them all.
If you're new to the show, thank you for searching us out on the internet and joining us. After the show, you can check out our content at GonnaGeek.com, where you can also find other geeky videos, podcasts, and articles.
Thanks, guys. And now let's get into this great episode. Michelle, why don't you go ahead and break it down for us?
This episode is called I, Ava. It's Season 3, Episode 16. It originally aired Monday, March 26, 2018. It's directed by Dean Cho. Directed one episode of Legends, but was the stunt coordinator of 31 episodes of Legends. Written by Ray Ucharnichet, whose credits include 1 Supergirl, 10 Legends, and 1 Flash. And Daphne Miles, script coordinator for Legends on 2 episodes, written this episode of Legends, and was a writer's assistant on Vampire Diaries and ended up writing an episode of that show as well.
Guys, this was a great episode, at least in my standpoint, and we'll talk about that in a second. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about how great it was to the audiences, because we're going to run down all of the ratings for the CW DC comic TV shows for that week. And the week is March 26th, 2018 on Monday. This episode, I, Ava, the 16th episode of the 3rd season, had a total rating of 2.04 million, which I think is pretty good for Legends of Tomorrow, especially on this half of the season. Now, remember, this is not just the live ratings. We're going to go down live plus 7-day DVR ratings because we're talking about this months later. So Flash didn't have an episode the next day on the 27th of March, but Black Lightning had the 10th episode of the 1st season titled Sins of the Father to a total live plus 7-day rating of 2.47. And on Thursday, Arrow, our flagship show for the Starling Tribune, had their 16th episode of the 6th season to a total rating of 2.07 to the Thanatos Guild. And guys, this is all above 2. I love these live plus 7-day DVR ratings because they make the ratings look so much better than they were when we discussed them first time around. Right, Michelle?
Yeah, I know Arrow is always in like the ones. We were like, over 1, please be over 1, please be over 1.3. So seeing them being, 2 million live plus 7, and then again, app, and then Netflix.
Yeah, because a lot of people catch up to it after the season is over. They almost immediately put it up on Netflix. I've been watching Legends of Tomorrow on Netflix this whole summer as we've been rebroadcasting it, but I did see it live or via DVR when it was first run. So that was great. Chris, what do you think about these ratings being above 2 for the live plus 7 day?
Those are good signs. That's what we like to see, because on the CW, those are solid ratings. If this was like CBS or Fox, people would be like, oh, this show's in trouble. For the CW, this is solid, and they've made a commitment to these shows, so hopefully it means they'll continue going forward. Who knows? I've expressed my concerns of how Legends is getting screwed out of the crossover this year.
It is, and we will talk about that later in the show after we talk about this episode of Legends of Tomorrow. Meantime, talking about this episode of Legends of Tomorrow, we often start talking about the overall theme for the episode, and for that, we usually go to the title of the episode. So, Michelle, what do you got with the overall theme with the title?
Well, the title is I, Ava, and we learn why Rip deleted her file from the Wave Rider, and we've learned why Vancouver 2213 is a no-fly zone is because during that time, we had Ava clones, and our Ava doesn't know that, and so she struggles with who she is, and she needs to realize that she's her own Ava. She's herself.
She is. I thought, rewatching this, I remember thinking, is this just another clone? Is she special? Maybe she's the original, although they did mention she was a genetic creation, basically. So even if she wasn't a clone, she would still be fabricated, I guess, genetically engineered in some way. So I have to go with she's her own person. We've seen her in action, and she's a real live person. She's not just like a mindless clone. So I have faith that Ava is real. I think we're going to find out more of her storyline in season 4 than we found out for the rest of season 3. But this episode was kind of amazing because this was a mystery. One of the mysteries. It was a good mystery, but it was a mystery throughout the season, wasn't it, Chris?
It was. It was interesting. I enjoyed it a lot. Now, for me, I thought the title was a play on I, Robot, the Asimov book. That's where I went with it. And I went, because you're talking about a assembly line making of a bunch of similar beings. I was like, yeah, I could see that they're trying to make a play for iRobot, give you that sci-fi feel as we jump to future Vancouver.
Yeah, because it almost wasn't like your traditional cloning. It was almost a 3D printed version because they were an assembly line. And one of the things I think what we learned is that they created Ava from all the genetically perfect people. And I remember Ray saying, perhaps the skin tone is wrong.
Yeah, that wasn't the only skin joke throughout the episode. You had Damien Dark saying something about the bronze skin for the vigilantes that are cowered in the darkness, basically. And then he looked at his daughter and, oh, no, not you, Nora, darling.
That is true. So we find out that Ava's been missing, and that's how this starts. Sarah and Ava broke up, and then Gary comes along. We have Gary.
Poor sweet Gary.
Yes, I love how he comes on the Wave Rider with like his eyes covered.
I don't want to see anything. I don't want to walk into something I'm not supposed to.
The poor guy just didn't want to get yelled at again. I mean, I get it. I mean, he just doesn't want to do anything wrong. He's like been holding the bureau together for 2 days, which is a long time for Gary. Let's face it. I mean, just getting him from breakfast to lunch is sometimes a long time, but he goes 2 full days in forging his director's signature and playing like it's all cool and everything. And he's out to find her. He's like, I don't care where she is. He probably thinks she's in a kind of a relationship tryst at the moment, little snuggle bunny time with Sarah. And he didn't want to get yelled at, basically. So, I'll have to hand it to him. I think he handled it well.
It would always be an awkward moment if you walked in on your boss in the mood with their significant other. I don't imagine we'd want to walk in. Would you want to walk into that? I know I wouldn't.
No.
If my boss was Ava, it'd be nice, but it's a workplace thing. No, I wouldn't want to do it.
Exactly. He's trying to keep it professional, right? Gary's all about the professionalness or something.
Well, not so much, because Ray, Gary, and Sarah do end up in 2213 Vancouver after stealing the Time Bureau's mothership.
It's not a Legends episode unless someone steals something.
Exactly.
Or souvenirs the time vessel.
In this case, they were just borrowing it.
Exactly. It was cool. I mean, and Gary was there, who was the temporary director, so I guess it was all cool.
Did he sign it out with the property book officer before he left? Otherwise,
Probably
he's in trouble.
Yeah, probably not. So, guys, did you get a distinct feeling? So this is a sci-fi show, and the ship's sci-fi. What elements of the sci-fi did you see in the mothership? Now, personally, I saw a bird of prey, but what did you guys see when you saw the mothership?
It looked like Andromeda from the Kevin Sorbo Andromeda show.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, especially with the long flowing lines. Michelle, did you have a favorite sci-fi show that you thought the mothership looked a little bit like?
Not quite.
Okay. I guess it's just Chris and I.
And it sort of looked like a white star at first from Babylon 5 when I caught it at a glance, just the weird angles, and I was like, oh, no, it's not a white star. I really hoped it was, though. Sorry.
Maybe it was.
Does no one else watches Babylon 5? I just realized I dated myself with my 1990s
I watched it too.
sci-fi.
I just don't remember all the ships. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Time for a rewatch.
It's on Amazon Prime. Just saying. Hint, hint. Go watch that when you're done watching our show, guys.
Up to season 4. Season 5 is kind of eh. Anyway, back to Legends and this great episode. I love the moment when Ray, Gary, and Sarah realize they're being surrounded by Avas. And Gary and Sarah are like, I've had this dream. And Gary's like, yeah, with less clothes. And Sarah's like, me too. Gary is like, this is heaven for me. But Sarah's like, this is hell. I'm surrounded by all my exes.
Yeah, since I've been divorced, if I was to drop into a future planet where my ex was surrounding me, yeah, that would not be a good day.
Yeah, it sounds like a special hell.
Yep.
But the line that I quoted from Ray with Attack of the Clones, eventually Ava comes along and she faints and then she recovers. And then we have an epic fight scene, don't we, SP?
Oh, we do. We have all these clones. It looked like, what, a dozen and a half or something like that of Ava clones. So, you got to go back to Battlestar Galactica, the reboot one where you saw all the clones and everything. Anyway, so there was this little fight between Ava and all her clones. And Ava was getting it on, and Sarah was right there with her. And you had these fights. And then Gary, poor Gary, because he's not a really adept fighter to begin with. He's more of an office bureaucrat sort of guy, right?
He's the tactician, right?
Yeah, well, we'll just call it that.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
He's probably a great game master, or dungeon master, whatever. Yeah.
We should ask Constantine.
Yeah. So he actually has to punch one of the clones, which is his boss, and he tries his best, but she catches it, and it turns out it's the real Ava. And guys, did you hear those bone cracks? So the real Ava cracked some bones of Gary.
Yeah, but not permanently, so it didn't sound like. It sounded more like knuckles popping, kind of cracking versus
that's
broken
fair.
hand. So,
but they had those nightsticks. It was just a great fight overall. And yes, it wasn't like one continuous fight, so the fight choreography wasn't one of these amazing things, but it was just fun seeing these girls out there fighting. We've had a lot of girl fighting scenes that are phenomenal in this series. Remember the pirate episode? That was pretty good, right?
the Dread Pirate
excellent.
G-Way.
Yeah, that's when they really got their flirt on, when those two fought Blackbeard's men.
Right, so those two are just great when they fight together, and in this case they're fighting a bunch of different Avas. So yeah, it was still good.
Well, Sarah was, in Vancouver. She had others do other biddings. So Sarah had, of course, Wally and Nate take care of what's going on in Detroit with Amaya's granddaughter. I love how Sarah was like, I need to put someone in charge of the ship. And at first Ray was like, and then Sarah just turns and says, Amaya. And because Amaya was in charge of the ship, she put Zari in charge of training Mick. Now, Chris.
Definite odd couple vibe here.
What did you think of Mick all this episode?
I love Mick's 6 lunches or whatever it was. He just keeps eating.
It was only
He's
4.
a hobbit.
He had 4 lunches, but then he had more food after that. So I'm assuming those were just continuing lunches. But I like the byplay between those two, where Zari's just exasperated with him. It's like, I don't want to have to do this, but no, she has to. And Mick's like, oh, I just don't care. I know how to use fire. I love fire. And tries to make her eat food all the time while she's fasting for religious purposes.
And that was kind of funny. And at the end, I think he continued it just because it was their thing, right? I think he got it at the end, but he was just playing it up.
I'm pretty sure Mick got it early on. I think he just enjoys being an a-hole is part of what it is. He just enjoys pushing that button with everyone.
But I'm surprised he didn't throw up his 4 lunches plus extra, because she had him spinning around in this cloud of wind, this basically mini tornado. And I don't know how long that was going on, but it seemed to be a while. And she was teaching him a lesson, basically, that she knew how to control the power better than he did. And I don't know, my hat's off to Mick if he didn't throw up, but that seems like a throw up moment to me.
He's got an iron stomach, man. That's how you can go and eat those pocket dogs all day long.
Fair enough.
And then we had what's happening in Detroit. Because Amaya lost her totem, Mari, her granddaughter, who's, the current Vixen, doesn't really have her powers, but she's still a vigilante anyway, trying to save the day. So Nate and Wally go, and eventually Kawasa shows up. She's there to protect Mari. And then we got Damien and Nora involved. And SP, I know you have offspring. So what are you thinking about, like, what Damien's going through with Nora Darling in the state that she's in?
Right. So I think he's finally starting to get it a little bit that he's losing his daughter, and he doesn't like that one bit. I mean, he wants everything that she wants, but then it comes down to she's wanting basically to give herself up for Mollis. And then I think Damien's like, maybe not. I mean, maybe we need to do something else here, but he doesn't have a real good plan on what that is. I think he's going to figure out he needs some additional help with that eventually. And in the meantime, though, it's clear his whole life is in his daughter, and he'll do anything for her. And I think it's time that he steps up to be the dad that he is and kind of helps her learn what mistakes she is making. Because sometimes you let your kids make mistakes, but sometimes you got to step in and say, oh, no, this is a little bit too far. And I think that's the point where Damien's at.
Yeah, I think he's learned it's not just fun and games of us teaming up together to free a demon. The cost is, my daughter's life and soul potentially to free said demon. Maybe it's not worth being alive like this to see my daughter get killed and pulled into this mess.
I loved how Damien was, I wanted to burn down the world and remake it in my image, in our image, so I can give that to Nora. It's supposed to be our vision, not the vision of Mollis.
Exactly. And that's the big thing. Damien didn't look at the big picture for what it meant to be in with Mollis. I think he was looking at Mollis as a means to an end to be able to do something and not realizing the cost, like I said, is his daughter's soul, presumably.
Well, the essence of everything that she is. I mean, soul in her body and everything. So it's just more than her soul. It's everything.
Another family issue we had was, of course, Amaya and her granddaughter, Kawasa. Kawasa actually betrays Nate because she is like, you are not my grandfather. You are getting in the way of my grandmother actually living her life, which is something that we have all agreed on, I think, for a while.
For once, we agree with Kawasa.
Yep. I do not like the way Amaya talked to Kawasa about...
Which time?
When she snapped at her the first time, saying that she shouldn't have done that to Nate, that she was being selfish. But I think Kawasa had a point that Amaya is being selfish.
We've known that for some time, and Amaya's struggled with it too, right? And I think that's one of the cruxes of where her power is faltering right now. More in that story later in the series. But I think multiple people are trying to get her to realize that there is a path for her. Rip Hunter's tried it. I know she's tried it herself. And now Kawasa is trying to remind her that, if you don't go back to 1942, the rest of us don't happen. And I think she's kind of forgotten a little bit about that because she was on again, off again with Nate this whole season. And now she's like technically on with him again. And I think she's gotten a little bit too comfortable with that whole thing. We talked about it before, and I get it. We're all tired of that relationship to begin with. And I think we're at the point where we're all like, yeah, why don't you go back? Because we're tired of that relationship. We're just tired. It needs to be solved because she needs to move on with her life in order to become the grandmother that she is.
Then Kawasa has a change of heart. And then, Nora doesn't need her trinket anymore, does she, Chris?
She has the power of a demon now, so she's ready to just toss it away. This trinket does nothing for me.
Kind of funny that you said Kawasa had a change of heart because Nora took the totem from her, basically where her heart is, right? She just ripped it from her. So
I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah, I did. I was like, oh, I almost groaned out loud.
Kalima! That's all I could think.
Indiana Jones and the what was that? The Temple of Doom.
Exactly. So a lot, did happen in this episode. We learned Ava's secret. Kawasa unfortunately passed, and it was interesting. Zari and Mick both felt it because they're both totem bearers. We saw a speedster, Chris. You know a lot about Wally West. He didn't do too well against Magic, did he?
No, but I don't think anyone expected Magic to nerf him that quickly. I mean, it was pretty impressive. I mean, he's like, I'm just going to speed up and do my thing again, even though everyone pointed out, you did it once, you've played your hand, and then it's just, your powers are gone.
It's not really experience. I mean, at this point in time in the series, Barry is experienced. He's been through a lot. I think he's getting it, but I don't think Wally's still in that, ooh, look, I could do anything with my super speed. And no, you can't. There are things that can take care of you, as Nora showed. So I don't remember what happens. And I was thinking, is his super speed gone forever, or did she shoot the speed force back into him when she knocked him out? I can't remember.
She took that lightning part,
which is the speed force, right?
Yeah. It's like that speed force lightning bolt thing. And she was able to take that and just zap it back to him and such. He still has his super speed, but she just was able to siphon some of it off and shoot it back at him.
It looked like she temporarily took the speed force from him and then gave it back, but in a force to knock him out. So that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, same here. So, Chris, is there anything else you want to talk about with the episode?
I greatly enjoyed Mick Rory originally learning how to use the fire totem when she's like, light this bear on fire. He's like, psh, and just lights the whole table on fire. He's like, I don't need someone to tell me how to deal with fire. It was a fun Mick episode.
SP?
Yeah, I think we need to rate the captain. The captain right now is not Captain Lance because she put Amaya back in charge. And Amaya did a lot of the same things that Sarah did when they're talking about training somebody new, and then they had the whole fight thing going on, and Amaya's just like, yeah, they're training, whatever. And she's trying to control different things going on, plus an ex-captain that's very similar to Sarah, right, with Rip. So how'd you guys think she did? If you want to rate a captain this episode, Captain Amaya, the dread Captain Jiwei. So what do you guys think of that?
Her crew kind of ran roughshod over her there for a while.
No different than Sarah.
That's true. I mean, she fixed the problem in the end. 7, 6.5, 7.
Okay.
Well, as a captain, I think she did okay. For a half a day, 6. But she does take the Wave Rider at the end, the jump ship. I'm sorry. She takes the jump ship to 1992, and Gideon's like, I really wouldn't do that if I were you. You're not supposed to do that, acting Captain Jiwei. So that sort of knocks her down a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe she's better off being the Dread Pirate Captain Jiwei on her rum bottle.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'd go. It was not a bad performance, but it wasn't a tremendous performance. So somewhere between 6 and 7, probably closer to 6 is what I was looking to.
So is that all you have, SP, for the episode?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So wait a minute. Yeah, I'll give it a 6. I was thinking maybe going even down to 5 because her granddaughter died. Kawasa died, and she's taking it very personal. So, yeah, it's closer to 6 to 5, but I'll still take it 6. And yes, that's all I have for the episode.
Well, we'll find out what Amaya is up to in the jump ship next week with guest starring John Noble.
Ooh.
It originally aired Monday, April 2nd, 2018. The Legends must fix 2 anachronisms at the same time to keep Mollis at bay and form an uneasy alliance with one of their enemies. It's directed by Ralph Hemmecker, written by Kido Shimizu and James Egan.
Looking forward to that. Live from the Starling Tribune main news desk on floor 52 of the Starling Tribune Tower, it's the weekly news roundup with chief news anchor Michelle Ely. And now, Michelle Ely.
Well, we have a bit of Arrow news. I'm going to start with the season 7 trailer. After outing himself as the Green Arrow at the end of last season, Oliver Queen is behind bars, surrounded by enemies he has to put away in the past and inmates who want to earn a name by beating him down. Someone has been running around in a Green Arrow costume, attacking people. The members of Team Arrow are powerless to stop him if they want to maintain their secret identities. And of course, Ricardo Diaz is coming back to town with an eye on payback. All I have to say with this trailer, there's a shirtless Oliver doing pull-ups. There's the shower scene. And then there's other stuff like Stephen Amell, shirtless again. Yay.
Getting back to basics, season 1. So, first of all, thank you very much, Stephen Amell, for working out enough so you felt comfortable going shirtless this season. I know that is a big sacrifice as you get older. I just want to say thank you very much for doing that because I know a lot of the ladies really enjoy that.
In some casting news, Shadowhunters Catherine McNamara,
It's okay. Reset. Catherine McNamara.
Yeah. Arrow season 7. Shadowrunners Catherine McNamara joins cast. She's going to be in the first half of the season as Maya, a scrappy street fighter and thief from Star City. The initial and unofficial casting notice for the character likened the character to Buffy the Superhero Slayer.
I've not watched Shadowhunters. I don't know anything about her as an actor, but I will say she is absolutely gorgeous, and I will not mind watching her on the screen.
I believe she was on White Collar for a while at one point in time or something. She's familiar, and I don't know why. I'm going to the Google machine now.
I know there's a lot of people that really enjoy her. She must have done, maybe killed off or something on Shadowhunters because they were all
canceled.
So the entire Shadowhunters team was wishing her well and stuff like that. So it was cool on Twitter, on the social medias and stuff.
Chris is on the Google machine.
Yeah, no success right now. For some reason, her name's familiar, and I don't know why. And I'm sure I'll figure it out at some point in time. Probably after we're done recording this episode, because that's how it works out.
Well, we're going to move on to some crossover news. First, we have Lois Lane. The CW cast Grimm star Elizabeth Tulloch to play Daily Planet Ace reporter in the crossover. I remember her from Grimm. She played Julia.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. She was in the West Wing.
Yeah. She was. I really liked her on Grimm.
Yeah. I remember her face now, but I don't know what character she played on West Wing. I'm doing the same thing that Chris did.
Google machine. Hey-oh.
That's right.
Yeah, her groom character was Julia, wasn't it?
Oh, she was in the West Wing for one episode, intern Susan.
Oh, so you're less likely to remember if she was an intern in one episode of The West Wing. Now, what season was it, SP?
It was 2004. I don't know what
That
season,
was
but
one
oh
of
my
the last
gosh,
seasons, I think.
it was like 14 years ago.
That was
Yeah.
5, I think. 5 or 6.
She
and the
looks
only
very
one's 7.
familiar. I must have seen her in something else too.
Did you watch Grimm?
I did not know.
No, I didn't. No, she was in The Flash as Lois Lane in 2014. She must have been like on the TV or something. I don't remember her on The Flash. Huh. We'll have to do some investigative reporting because we are
Juliet. Her name was Juliet. I was close.
Anyway, it'll be fun seeing her as part of the crossover.
Yes, I liked her on Grimm. She had this very interesting character arc, so I think she's going to make a great Lois Lane. Chris, you have some more crossover news.
I do. We're getting hard into the crossover news. Casting has confirmed Gotham City as a crossover location. Lost and Justified veteran Jeremy Davies will be playing Dr. John Deegan, a doctor at the notorious Arkham Asylum for the Criminally Insane, whose machinations draw Green Arrow, The Flash, and Supergirl to Gotham. Although Gotham, the traditional stomping grounds of Batman, has been referenced in Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl, this will be the first time it's actually shown on the Arrowverse dramas. Fans are still left to wonder, however, whether it's the Gotham of Earth 1, home of Green Arrow and the Flash, or Earth 38, inhabited by Supergirl, or possibly some other Earth. That's my own aside. While the introduction in the crossover of Batwoman, played by Ruby Rose, led to speculation Gotham might finally make its debut, the city is even referenced in the character description. This is our first official confirmation.
Gotham. I wonder if there's going to be a Queen building in Gotham.
That'd be nice. Wasn't there one in the Gotham TV show?
Yeah. Yes, there was. Yeah, that's what I was referencing.
Is there still a Queen Consolidated? Is there still a Queen Industries?
No, it's now part of Palmer Tech, and then whenever Palmer Tech got replaced it.
Yeah. Well, more crossover news. CW cast Cassandra Jean Amell, yes, the wife of Stephen, in the role of Nora Freeze. If that name sounds familiar to you, it's because Nora is the wife of Victor Freeze, also known as the Batman villain Mr. Freeze. No details were provided as to whether Amell's version of the character will be alive and well or in cryostasis at the time of her introduction. The customary character description was not provided either, leaving the nature of her role and presumably her husband's a mystery.
Wouldn't it be so cool if we got the Arnold back?
The Governor.
That would be so totally inappropriate, but it would be cool seeing him back as Mr. Freeze, just because it would draw from those movies.
That's a hard pass for me. I'm fine if the Governor stays far, far away from my CW shows.
Oh, they couldn't afford them anyway.
Well, I have to admit, there's a lot of money going into this because of the casting news.
Yeah, but they want to focus on Batwoman, right? That's their focus. They're creating this as a backdoor pilot for Batwoman, or at least that's what we're led to believe at this point in time. So you wouldn't want to throw Arnold Schwarzenegger into the mix because all of a sudden that would be the key of everything, not Batwoman.
I don't think they could afford Arnold Schwarzenegger right now.
I believe I just said that.
Yeah, while he's doing Terminator right now, it would take a lot to pry him away from the set of whatever Terminator they're on to come and do this.
Again, I'm happy that he's either not available or just wouldn't do it, or they don't have enough money. I like to pretend those Batman movies didn't happen.
You don't want to chill out?
No, let's just put this on ice and move on.
Cool.
As much as I like Michael Keaton, yeah, I'll agree with you. The George Clooney thing was a little bit ridiculous.
But he makes a great Vulture.
Chris, you have our last piece of Arrowverse crossover news.
Yes, we are not done with the casting news in the crossover. The CW has announced that designated Survivor star LaMonica Garrett has been cast as Mar Nouveau, an extraterrestrial being of infinite power known as the Monitor in the upcoming Elseworlds crossover. In the comics, if you didn't know, the Monitor was essential to Crisis on Infinite Earths, created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez in 1982's The New Teen Titans number 21. The character was established to set up the events of Crisis. He's billions of years old, born as the living embodiment of the universe's positive matter. As such, he's the natural enemy of the Anti-Monitor, a being of antimatter. Yes, we're getting into some old school DC, which moves into some celestial stuff they've done. But we're getting the Monitor, leaving open the door for maybe some celestial stuff with an Anti-Monitor down the road. Who knows?
I have really enjoyed watching LaMonica Garrett on screen. I watched him in The Last Ship. I watched him on Designated Survivor. And yes, I watched all of Designated Survivor. I'm not watching it anymore as it's streaming. It's ridiculous. But I did enjoy him playing both those characters. And I can't wait to see what he brings to the role of the Monitor.
Yeah. Again, the crossover is going to be Sunday, December 9th through Tuesday, December 11th. And with the Monitor, I mean, and it says Elseworlds. Is this going to be something, do we think, just takes place in some sort of pocket universe and it has nothing to do with what happens to our regular shows? Or do they think, are they just using Elseworlds to be cool?
I think they're using Elseworlds to be cool and to basically have us think that it could involve a semi-crisis-like event where multiple Earths are brought together. At least 3, it seems like.
Is Elseworlds a story in the comic books, like a crossover story in the comic books that I haven't run into yet, or is this something new?
No, normally when you say an Elseworld, it's a story that takes place outside of comic book continuity or something. It's like when Wonder Woman meets Thor, or if, Batman was somebody else, those sort of Elseworlds. That's what I mean.
I would love to see Gal Gadot with Chris Hemsworth. I think that would be a riot on screen. So now you put that in my head.
I'm sure there's fanfic out there. There's not much for you.
On screen.
Well, there's fan art, I'm sure. There's some really talented artists out there that could draw some of that.
All right, I'm going to have to look that up then.
Just make sure your safe search is on, because it could get creepy.
Fair enough.
No, that was a heads up. I wasn't trying for a joke there, listeners. We want to make sure you don't happen upon some of the scarier things on the internet.
Well, I remember we've talked about, with Supergirl being in a different Earth and everything, about can they do a crisis? And now with the Monitor, it just feels like they're doing that tease again about bringing everything together. Chris, did you read Crisis on Infinite Earths? Or
I did, but it was ages ago, so it's very fuzzy in my mind. I know it's one of the seminal books of DC lore and whatnot, but it's probably been 15 years since I last read it.
I'm just afraid that they're using this as because we got so excited about Flashpoint, right? And that was one episode. And now they're doing the Monitor and everything. I just feel like, I really hope they're not teasing us in such a way that's really going to be a letdown.
Well, I mean, we're going to get at least 3 episodes out of it because it spans across 3 shows. So we've got that much going for us. It's not going to be as much of a letdown as Flashpoint was, which was, oh man, they could take like a third of a season to do it, and it was like 3/4 of an episode that was dedicated to Flashpoint. So I think if that is our metric of success, we're going to meet it here. It's going to be at least 3 times as long as Flashpoint.
The worst crossover is better than any individual episode on any of these shows. They have not disappointed yet. I'm putting my faith in them that they will not disappoint this time. And oh, by the way, using the Googles while you guys were talking, it appears that Gal Gadot and Chris Hemsworth have a history together talking about Wonder Woman and Thor. So I don't know if you were reading any of that, Michelle, or not, and that just stuck in your craw. But they presented together at the Golden Globes in December of 2017, and they had a back and forth offline about Thor and Wonder Woman. So this is real. The actors are really doing this. This is cool. Okay.
And by the way, Wonder Woman can lift Mjolnir.
That's true.
Just, yep, FYI.
So can Storm. We learned that at one point in time, too. It's pretty cool when you start learning who can be deemed worthy of Mew Mew.
Kat Dennings forever has renamed Thor's hammer Meow Meow.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's shattered into pieces right now.
No, it's coming back.
Even in the comics, it's shattered into pieces.
Oh.
Well, it's stuck in a sun. Excuse me, I lied.
Yeah. So either way, I'm very excited for the crossover. What about you, SP?
Yeah, I just said that I'm really looking forward to it. They haven't let me down. Now it is the keynote of the entire season. It comes at a great time, right? Because it's between Thanksgiving and the holiday, the Christmas holiday time. It's not the mid-season finale, but it's kind of ramping up to that point. So it does take you out of the storylines for the shows, but it's a fun time to see everything. And it's right before you get those big holiday movies, whether it's the Star Wars movies or the Marvel movies, whatever is parked there. I have no idea what's parked there right now off the top of my head, but we'll find out pretty soon. Yeah, it starts the season of really good shows on TV and the comic book movies and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Chris?
Oh, I'm in. It's a comic book show that crosses over. They had me at the very beginning. They knew it.
That's true. I am looking forward to it. Batwoman, Ruby Rose, that's got me excited. One of the things, of course, we are not happy about is Legends of Tomorrow not being involved.
Nope.
But hey, the Legends are up to stuff. We got a new trailer. The trailer starts off with John Constantine telling White Canary to get ready for a new fight because the darkness is rising, which transitions into shots of what appear to be the Salem witch trials. The trailer then reveals that the team's composition will be changing. There's also fan favorite Time Bureau agent Gary Green, naked and claiming he's an intern legend, a fairy godmother, and a unicorn shooting a rainbow mist from its horn.
I'm in. You got me, guys. You got me.
I almost wish Gary was more Coulson-like, because the Legends deserve more than an intern from Gary, or Gary deserves more of it. But I guess if he's okay with it, if Adam Tushman, who's the actor that plays Gary, is okay with it, then I'm okay with it. And I think he's having fun with it, so I'll go with it till I have a conversation and he's like, dude, I can't believe this sucks. I'm the joke of the show. But until then, I'm gonna say he loves it. And okay, intern legend Gary.
I like it.
Okay.
Can we get him some business cards? Maybe a placard?
He's gonna need them.
I think so.
And Chris, you have our final piece of news.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Heatwave himself here, Dominic Purcell. I've sort of hinted at it with feeling like Legends kind of got the short straw and not being included in the crossover and my concerns. And some people had talked about in the past, Legends is the joke of the Arrow universe. Well, Dominic himself came out and expressed his feelings of how he felt about this on Instagram, where he said the first season sucked. We had to change it drastically. The writers, the creative team, changed its course with a master genius stroke. Let's have fun with it. Now we have a show that embraces the absurdity of the farce and the brilliant nature of its theme. No longer will I accept this utterance that Legends is the in-house joke where the ugly stepsister in DC Comics Arrowverse TV expletive, Dominic Purcell wrote. I know for a fact we are not seen that way within the corporate structure, so shut the expletive up. We good, we handling our expletive, we good. We family, we delivering. So he's fairly impassioned there, and there's some strong language. We try to keep it clean for you guys so you can listen with your family, but you can probably read between the lines and figure out what it is. I'm totally on board with Dominic Purcell here. It's one of the best shows on there because they go and just have fun with it. And yes, season 1 sucked. Season 2 and 3, awesome. I'm totally with you, Mick. Or excuse me, Dominic.
Now, season 1 didn't completely suck. If you take the Hawk people out of it, it's pretty okay.
You know, she used to be a barista, right?
No, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Now I want coffee.
Coffee.
Yummy. Yeah, there's if you go to the link, there's the full Instagram post where he was like, we have the best crew, our art department. They say eight days it can't be done. Our crew is right there, our art department's right there. He's just, we've talked about before, gee, we wonder what he's thinking about being on the show. Does he still like it? Obviously, he does.
He's a fan. He
Yeah,
enjoys his work.
that's good to know, because he didn't like living in Vancouver, right? We went through that whole thing, and he was just uncomfortable for that year, but now he's like it. So this is one of the reasons, and I know we talked about it before, but I just feel compelled to mention it again. If you happen to be a new listener to the show, that personally and I believe my co-hosts here, we think that Legends of Tomorrow got the serious shaft for not being part of the crossover. And I've expressed it to the powers that be on Twitter several times, and I will never let it go until after the crossover. But I'm not a bad guy about it. I was going to say a bad word there, but I think it's a mistake. And I know we described how getting 4 shows production schedules line up is really difficult, but it was the biggest ratings the shows have ever gotten. So if they could have found some way to work it in, I think that would have been great. And I really do hope that they find other smaller crossovers that they can sprinkle in throughout the year for Legends of Tomorrow. I get it. It's a different style of show, but it is the style of show that I want to watch, and I'm enjoying it a lot. And I just hope they embrace it for the other shows as well. But, who am I? I'm a podcaster that's just a fan of these shows. So it is what it is.
Yeah, but, I hope Constantine's on there. I'm very happy. I am upset they're not part of the crossover. But the fact that they are just taking their bull by the horns and just going for it makes me extremely happy.
Yeah, me too. I'm sure they're going to do some awesome stuff in Legends this season. But like I said when it was first announced, my big concern is you get these massive ratings bumps for the crossover, like double ratings almost in all of these shows, which is a statistical outlier, which Legends doesn't get the benefit of when it comes time to renewal season. They look at it and go, well, Legends is only averaging a 2.01 and Arrow is averaging a 2.13. Well, that's because Arrow had a week where they were a 4.5 or something like that. So I really hope that is kept in mind when it comes time for renewal season, because I've said it here and I'll blaspheme. I know this is an Arrow podcast predominantly, but Legends of Tomorrow is a better show right now.
We'll see if they bring back that magic of season 1 and season 2 of Arrow in this next season. It kind of looks like they're trying. Beth Schwartz is trying. She's the, executive producer, the showrunner of Arrow this season. But we'll see what they have. She has to work with what she was given at the end of season 6. So we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, that's why we're covering Legends of Tomorrow in the off season versus any of the other shows, because this is our favorite. And that's why we like it.
Exactly. So that's all we have for the news. Now, Chris, we are part of a larger podcasting network and we have a lot of shows. What's one of the shows that we have?
So one of the shows we're going to talk to you guys about this week is the On the Bubble podcast. It's a show that talks about programs and television shows that were on the bubble and fan efforts and things like that came into saving them. And this time it's talking about Flash Forward, the blackout campaign to save the ABC sci-fi drama. Many shows suffer from a lack of support from their own networks over a mid-season break. ABC's Flash Forward suffered both the aforementioned lack of support and also a much longer than normal break for the time. This was back in 2010. So you can find out a little bit about how Flash Forward maybe got screwed a little bit by checking that out over at GonnaGeek.com. But hey, we don't have just one show for you. We got 2. SP, what's the other one we got?
Yeah, I love listening to On the Bubble with Joshua Liston. First of all, he's got that great Australian accent. But second of all, he does an amazing job laying everything out for the shows that he's covering. Another show that I really like is the Intellectual podcast. And the only reason I want to mention that, in addition to Flash Forward this week, is they interviewed Mark Christopher Lawrence, who played Big Mike on Chuck. Now, Mark Christopher Lawrence is a very different character in real life than Big Mike is, and it's great to hear him behind the scene and everything that went on with the show Chuck, as well as what he's doing today as part of his continuing comedic tour. So if you liked Chuck and you like Big Mike, if you watch Chuck, you like Big Mike. So go listen to episode number 225 of the Intellectuals podcast. That's on the Gonna Geek Network, in addition to On the Bubble podcast, which is episode 27 on Flash Forward. 2 great shows that we're giving to you to go watch on this episode of the Starling Tribune.
You get 2 for the price of 1 this week, guys. We're here for you. 2 for the price of 1. Go check them out. GonnaGeek.com. Well, looking at the time, it is time for us to start wrapping up this latest installment of the Starling Tribune. So a big thank you to everyone who did participate in the chat room over at geeks.live, but also a thank you to anyone who catches the replay over at youtube.com/GonnaGeek or downloads the audio podcast from our website, starlingtribune.com.
If you happen to have an Amazon device, you can always enable our podcast as a skill. All you have to say is your activation word, which I won't say because I'm not going to activate your device. And then you say enable the Starling Tribune, and then you'll have your very own app that you can control. The playback functions go back and forth in the episodes and everything else. And always remember, you can catch us live and chat with us live in our chat room. Is we record 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific on Thursdays, and you can catch us at www.geeks.live.
We would love to hear from you. We are the Starling Tribune on Facebook and Instagram, at Starling Tribune on Twitter, and you can call us at 612-888-CAVE. That's 612-888-2283. Well, this brings us to the end of another great episode. Any last words before we sign off? At Stargate Pioneer.
Hashtag Snickerdoodle Cookies.
At the Chris Farrell.
Hashtag 4th lunch.
And I am at Michelle Ely signing off with this was the best Attack of the Clones. Oracle, I think we're done here.
This was the Starling Tribune. You can leave us feedback at GonnaGeek.com or check out our archive at StarlingTribune.com. Visit GonnaGeek.com for more podcasts. Music by Kevin MacLeod can be found at Incompetech.com. This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, stories, and situations are the property of Time Warner. No infringement is intended. We will see you for the next episode of CW's Arrow.